What's going on, and welcome to the Solo Shot. My name is Tom Vecchio. We have a 6-game slate tonight. It locks at 7:05. As always, this is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find that anywhere, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe, write a review. That is greatly appreciated. Live here for the next 30 or so minutes going over today's slate. I will be back at 4 p.m. on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter page, taking your questions, going over the slate. Before we hop into things, listen up, baseball fans. FanDuel is giving you an exclusive way to get in on the action with the MLB Single Entry Series presented by Roto Grinders. Each week, enter a featured single entry contest to win cash prizes and compete for a seat in the $40,000 online final. Just play daily and we'll add your 4 highest point totals together to give you a combined score and rank for the week. Head over to FanDuel and enter the MLB Single Entry Series today, which ends on August 29th. Eligibility restrictions apply. Head over to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app for more details. All right, hopping into this 6-game MLB slate. Again, the lock is set for 7:05. We are looking to be in a good spot when it comes to the weather, despite the hurricane hitting the Northeast. We are free of that, and we actually should be in a spot where we have 0 weather issues on tonight's slate. We have 6 games on tonight's slate, and of course, that means limited options across the board. But starting off at pitching, it's clear that Lance Lynn is the best pitcher on tonight's slate. He comes in at $10,100, obviously having a phenomenal year, one of the leaders for the Cy Young in the American League. He's carrying a 27.8% strikeout rate, a 7.9% walk rate. We'd like to see a little bit lower, but he does have great peripheral stats with a 3.78 Sierra, a 3.93 xFIP. 44% fly ball rate can always be dangerous, but it's paired with a 54.7% medium contact rate, which is, of course, good to see. Now, in his most recent start, looking at his game log, it's not going to be looking too impressive with only 21 FanDuel points, but he only pitched 4 innings against Oakland. He had 4 strikeouts in that time, 1 earned run, but he was ejected early from that game. So don't really take too much stock when looking at his recent game log. Ejected from his most recent game. We don't want to be banking on that. We know he has 50 or so FanDuel point upside. Given the context of the slate, given the fact that we only have 12 pitchers going, it's clear that, again, Lance Lynn is the best pitcher on tonight's slate. $10,100. He's the pitcher that you should be paying up for in your cash games for that overall safety, just because he is good. Now, we can say that there is some danger for him going up against the Toronto Blue Jays, but we still want to be siding with Lance Lynn and the overall skill that he does bring. Now, on the other side of Lance Lynn, he's going up against the Blue Jays. The pitcher for the Blue Jays tonight will be Alek Manoah, who's coming in at $9,600. And this is also a player where you don't want to be looking at his recent game log, because his most recent start against the Washington Nationals certainly was not good at all, only going 3 innings, giving up 6 earned runs in that time. But we do know that Manoah has a very strong 28.3% strikeout rate this season, an 8.5% walk rate. He comes with a solid 3.77 Sierra and a 4.00 xFIP. He does have a very solid 40.1% ground ball rate and a 52.2% medium contact rate. Now, of course, this is his first year in the major leagues. He only has 62 innings pitched, so of course, take that with a grain of salt. Now, you could say, oh, the White Sox also present a bit of danger, but we did see the White Sox struggle in some of these recent games, and we have seen some of their power take half a step back. They're also striking out a bit more, specifically against right-handed pitchers, coming in with a 24.0% strikeout rate currently, with their current roster, I should say, versus righties, which is the 13th worst in the league. They're also carrying a 167 team ISO, which is 12th in the league. So not as powerful of an offense as they were at earlier parts in the year. They're also carrying a 108 WRC plus versus righties, which is just above the league average. So yes, the White Sox still have some power in their lineup, but it's certainly not as dangerous as they were in earlier months of the season. Now, both of these pitchers, Lynn and Manoah, of course, going up against each other, and they do have the 2 highest strikeout rates on the board. After that, we see a bit of a drop-off, and it comes down to a lot of inconsistency for a lot of the pitchers. And I will be leaning towards a pitcher a little bit further down, and that could be Marco Gonzalez tonight. I simply think that Zach Greinke at $9,200 is too expensive to pay for a pitcher That's coming in with a 17.9% strikeout rate. Yes, Marco Gonzalez doesn't have that much higher of a strikeout rate, sitting at 19.7%, but we do get a bit of savings with Marco Gonzalez at $7,800 compared to Zach Greinke at $9,200. Now, we can also say that Zach Greinke has an easier matchup going up against the Kansas City Royals at home, while Marco Gonzalez is on the road taking on the Athletics, which is no doubt a tougher matchup, but I'm still going to be looking at the savings that Marco Gonzalez brings, because ultimately Zach Greinke reaching or exceeding value at $9,200 with a 17.9% strikeout rate is not something that we're going to be seeing from him too often. We see this from his most recent start against Kansas City last week when he was on the road, where Greinke went 6 innings, 1 earned run, but 0 strikeouts from Zach Greinke and only posting 19 FanDuel points. And that presents a bit of an issue when he's $9,200. So I'll be leaning towards Marco Gonzalez tonight with a 19.7% strikeout rate, a 7.7% walk rate. He's mostly a medium contact pitcher, sitting at 50.4%. His fly balls can be slight issue at 44.8%, but we do know that he's in Oakland, which is a solid pitcher's park. So I simply want to take the savings with Marco Gonzalez at $7,800 rather than pay somewhat of a premium for Zach Greinke at $9,200 when we know he has a very limited strikeout upside. So Lance Lynn is clearly the best pitcher on tonight's slate. He's the one that you should be focusing in on using in your cash games. I like Alek Manoah as a pivot away from him. I like going to Manoah for tournaments tonight, searching for that strikeout upside, considering he has a 28.3% strikeout rate, which is the highest on the slate. It is higher than Lance Lynn at 27.8%, but of course, Manoah has a much smaller sample size, being called up in his first year in the league. So looking to Lance Lynn for that safety, looking for Manoah for that strikeout upside going up against the Chicago White Sox, and then looking to Marco Gonzalez for that savings at $7,800. Now, we also can make a case for Kyle Hendricks, but I'll circle back on that in a few minutes. Moving on to the stacks on tonight's slate. It's clear that we should see the Astros as one of, if not the most popular options on tonight's slate, just because they're at home. They have a 5.37 implied total, and they're going up against Daniel Lynch, a pitcher we certainly want to be attacking. Now, Lynch is actually pretty solid versus left-handed hitters this year, coming in with a 3.7 xFIP and a 29.4% strikeout rate. He is a left-handed pitcher. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But versus righties, he is struggling mightily this year with only a 17.1% strikeout rate, a 5.03 xFIP. He's allowing 1.05 home runs per 9. He's allowing a 37.8% hard contact rate against righties and a 36% fly ball rate. So reaching that 40-40 line, I personally like to look for when it comes to attacking pitchers that are certainly home run prone. And if we want righties in the Houston Astros lineup, we certainly have plenty of them that we can be going to. Thus, this is why we should be seeing the Astros as a very, very popular stack tonight, whether it be Yuli Gurriel, whether it be Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, whoever it might be, we have plenty of options to choose from. Now, this isn't to say you shouldn't be looking to roster Kyle Tucker or your Don Alvarez, two lefties in the Astros lineup. Of course, ultimately, we'll be looking to attack the Royals bullpen if we get Daniel Lynch out of the game early. So yes, we can be looking to lefties, but I'll certainly be starting off the stack with a Carlos Correa, with a Jose Altuve, with a Yuli Gurriel. So the Astros, with their 5.37 implied run total, should be leading the slate tonight, and they should be one of the most popular options for stacks. You can use them in cash games. You could fully stack them with 4. You could take them as one-offs, searching for that home run upside. But yes, going up against Daniel Lynch and his nearly 40-40 line when it comes to fly ball, hard contact rate, specifically against righties, with that 5.03 xFIP is the spot you want to be attacking. We also can look to the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight, a spot we don't often go. They have a solid 4.51 implied run total. They are on the road. They are going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates will have Will Crowe on the mound, certainly a pitcher that we can look to attack. He comes in this season allowing 2.58 home runs per 9 to righties, 1.15 home runs per 9 to lefties. He has a terrible 14.5% walk rate versus lefties, an 8.5% walk rate versus righties, a 5.13 xFIP versus lefties, and a 4.59 xFIP versus righties. This is absolutely not a pitcher we need to be worried about, considering he carries a very modest 22.3% strikeout rate versus lefties and a 19.8% strikeout rate versus righties. A pitcher that often walks too many hitters, lets them on base, and then gets burned by the home runs. And he's allowing a 40.2% fly ball rate to lefties, a 35% hard contact rate, a lower 33.6% fly ball rate versus righties. We'd like to see that a little bit higher. But he does have a bad 26.0% home run to fly ball ratio versus righty. So a pitcher that allows too many hitters on base for free and then is getting burned by the fly balls is absolutely a spot that we want to be looking to when it comes to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And ultimately, the Diamondbacks aren't overly expensive. Of course, Ketel Marte at $3,900 is an expensive option, but after that, we're dropping down to the low $3,000 or high $2,000 range when it comes to the potential options for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Dalton Varsho has a very solid 204 ISO in this split. I think he is certainly an option tonight. And then ultimately it comes down to what their lineup looks like. We want Ketel Marte in there, but if we're looking to pay up for Lance Lynn at tonight's slate, his salary could be a bit of an issue if we're also looking to stack them with the Astros, who we know can be very expensive. But look to filter in any of Christian Walker, David Peralta, Carson Kelly, Asdrubal Cabrera. The Diamondbacks have plenty of options, even Pavin Smith at $2,900. They have multiple options that you can be going to, searching for that home run upside going up against Will Crowe, a pitcher that we know is struggling with too many home runs and too many walks this year. And again, this is the same situation as we see with the Astros. Ultimately, if we don't get too much out of Will Crowe, it's not like we're going to be worried about the Pirates bullpen. So yes, this is a great spot to be attacking with the Diamondbacks, something I guess we haven't been able to say too many times this season. Now, where else can we go in for stacks? Because there are only 6 games on tonight's slate. It wouldn't be a surprise to see some people jumping on board with the Cubs, jumping on board with the Yankees, but I actually want to be looking to the other side of that Yankees game, and that will be with the Atlanta Braves. They are going up against Jordan Montgomery, who is certainly having a solid year, but he's getting burned a little bit when it comes to the home runs versus right-handed hitters this season. 1.10 home runs per 9 allowed to righties this year on a 40.1% fly ball rate. Now, he only has a 10.9% home run to fly ball ratio, which is below the league average, so we could say that he is due for a little bit of regression. And yes, going up against some of the righties with the power that the Braves have is certainly something that we can be looking to take advantage of tonight. We look to the righties on the Braves, and yes, they're still, of course, without Ronald Acuna. He's done for the year, but the additions that they have made at the deadline, we know that the power is going to be there for them, whether it be Adam Duvall, whether it be Jorge Soler, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson. They have multiple options up and down their lineup. Now, this is a stack that I would be primarily looking to as a secondary option behind the Astros or some other teams, just because we know that the Yankees bullpen is actually very, very good. So if we don't see a lot of home runs get going early against Montgomery, this stack could be a bit dead in the water. So ultimately, the Astros are going to be my top stack on tonight's slate, but I still want some shares of the Braves because we know that there is home run potential against Montgomery. The Braves are at home. It's a solid hitter's park, et cetera, et cetera. And ultimately, I'm hoping that the Braves just simply aren't as popular as a team like the Astros, which of course makes them that much more interesting for tournaments. So yes, looking to stack Ozzie Albies, Riley, Swanson, Soler, Duvall, you name it. All the righties have power for the Braves, and that is certainly a spot that I want to be looking. So we have some clear stacks on tonight's slate. I think that we have some very, very clear pitching options on tonight's slate. And really it comes down to how much exposure you can get to the Astros in your lineup. Can you pair them with Lance Lynn due to his higher $10,100 salary? And then where can we find the savings? So tonight's slate will be very interesting when it comes down to roster construction. Again, I can answer all of your questions at 4 p.m. on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page. Make sure you are followed, or subscribed there to get a notification when we go live. I can answer your questions, especially depending on what their lineups look like for these teams. If anything changes throughout the day, I'll take your questions there. So looking to the Astros as clearly the top stack on tonight's slate. Really liking the spot for the Diamondbacks going up against Will Crowe and the Pittsburgh bullpen. And then I do like the Braves tonight for that home run upside going up against Jordan Montgomery. Now, when it comes to the final three things on tonight's 6-game slate, I'm also going to be looking to take some shares of Kyle Hendricks at $8,300 as a pitching option tonight. Now, I mentioned him briefly before, and ultimately he's basically the same pitcher as Zach Greinke or Marco Gonzalez. I said I like Gonzalez because his salary relief that he brings compared to Zach Greinke. Now, ultimately, yes, Greinke has a very, very easy matchup at home going up against Kansas City. But if we're looking at comparable matchups specifically for Hendricks and Greinke, why are we not siding with Hendricks, or I guess you could say Gonzalez, who are significantly cheaper? Again, Greinke is $9,200 and Kyle Hendricks is $8,300. Greinke has a 17.9% strikeout rate. Kyle Hendricks has a 17.2% strikeout rate. Greinke comes in with a 4.44 SIERA, while Kyle Hendricks has a 4.61 SIERA. So why are we looking to Greinke too many times when the matchup is roughly the same? We have Greinke at home going up against Kansas City. They come in with a 144 team ISO versus righties. Hendricks is at home going up against Colorado, who comes in with a 156 team ISO versus righties. Colorado also has a 76 WRC plus versus righties, while the Royals have an 88 WRC plus versus righties with their current rosters. So the matchups are essentially the same. We're splitting hairs here when it comes to a lot of these stats, but the one thing that we're not splitting hairs on is the fact that Kyle Hendricks is almost $1,000 cheaper compared to Greinke. So while I do like Marco Gonzalez, who's even cheaper than Kyle Hendricks, I do have a lot of interest in Kyle Hendricks. I just have some concerns about Greinke reaching value due to his limited strikeout upside at $9,200. And it's that much easier for Hendricks or Gonzalez to reach value, given the fact that they also have limited strikeout upside. It's just due to the fact that they are that much cheaper. So looking to some of the mid-range options is the spot I'll be going tonight for pitching, outside, of course, Lance Lynn and Alek Manoah, who I'm certainly very interested in paying up for. I will also, of course, be looking to stack the Yankees tonight. That goes without saying. They have a great park factor. They have plenty of home run upside. We'll circle back on the Yankees as another team to potentially stack. They are very expensive in terms of their salaries tonight, and stacking them with a Lance Lynn could be very difficult. If you were trying to get exposure to Houston as well, that could be certainly very difficult to accomplish. Now, when it comes to the final home run call, or I should say the first home run call on tonight's slate, it will be Yuli Gurriel for the Houston Astros. Now, I'll give one home run call now. I'll give a second home run call on the 4 p.m. Q&A you can find right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Yuli Gurriel, the first baseman for the Houston Astros, is my home run call for tonight. He comes in with great numbers versus left-handed pitchers. Again, attacking Daniel Lynch was a 5.03 xFIP versus righties, allowing 1.05 home runs per 9 to righties, a 36% fly ball rate, a 37.8% hard contact rate versus right-handed hitters. We look to Gurriel, who comes with a 46.5% fly ball rate versus lefties. He has a lower 31.8% hard contact rate. We like to see that a bit higher, but he started off a little bit slow since returning from his injury. In the most recent few games from him, he certainly turned things around. So the fly ball potential for Gurriel is certainly very strong in this split, and that's a spot that we want to be going. Of course, we could look to Correa. We could look to Jose Altuve as well for the Astros, presenting plenty of power versus Daniel Lynch. So yes, the Astros are my top stack. Yuli Gurriel is my first home run call for today. We will go over more on the 4 p.m. Q&A show you can find right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page. Lance Lynn is the top option on tonight's slate. Alek Manoah is close behind him, especially for tournaments. And then we're going to be looking to drop down a little bit, take some savings for some hitters with Kyle Hendricks and Marco Gonzalez, really allow the stacks to shine through with their expensive salaries. All right, so that does it for today's podcast. You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS_Tom. Until next time, good luck in your contests.